Howdy. Today is a Hildryn video. Just not like one specific build, but several builds on Hildryn. Hildryn is my most played Warframe. I'm just sort of doing this because I had somebody ask about Hildryn builds. Because I play Hildryn so much, I thought, you know what, sure, we'll do a video on it. Now, Hildryn is, I'm going to be totally honest here. This is from somebody that, if anything, is biased towards Hildryn. I love Hildryn. She's the best muscle mommy. She is my favorite Warframe in the game. She's my most played Warframe in the game. But she fucking sucks. Hildryn is not a good Warframe. She's one of the worst in the entire game. Holy shit, DE. Please buff her. Not even buff, bro. Honestly, she needs a rework. I would take a full-on rework to Hildryn. She's so bad. Anyways, with that out of the way, as long as you don't expect anything too ridiculous on her, keep your expectations realistic. Now, the main things to Hildryn, firstly, let's go to our abilities, right? Aegis Storm lets you float around, right? Float around, and yeah, I've got no companion on. And any enemy within the radius will be suspended, assuming they are immune to crowd control, like with Overguard or whatever, and they will periodically drop energy orbs. So you literally generate energy orbs for your team. The problem is it drains energy really, really fast, and does not have very high base range. Look at this. And you cannot use any of your normal weapons while it's active. The only weapons you can use are your Balefire, which I'll get to in a second, because that's her first ability. Then you've got Haven. Oh, actually, back to her fourth. Her fourth also takes 9 years to slam down. Look at that horribly long animation. That's with a casting speed shard. You can only float so high with it, unlike with like Jade's flying ability. See, you can't fly any higher. Can't cast other abilities except Haven while it's active. That's the only ability you can cast while it's active, other than Balefire. Right? So, like if you put a helmet ability on, you can't cast it. It's an issue. Then Haven, okay? Haven tags nearby allies and enemies. Enemies take damage periodically. It is radiation damage, but it has no status effect. That's literally all it does. It just does radiation damage to the enemies. But then to allies, there's no ally here right now, but it will connect to any ally or companion, including like if you have a sentinel next to you, and will increase their shield regen and their max shields. And it will also give them Hildryn's passive. Hildryn has a passive that's actually pretty stonks, as the kids would say. It's 3.5 second shield gate. That's awesome. And allies that are connected by Haven will get her 3.5 second shield gate. So that's nice. The problem is it drains energy so fast because it tags enemies. I don't even know like why. Why does it even tag enemies? If you aren't using the augment, that part is pointless. So it's a yowzas. But it gives a pretty decent amount of shield recharge. I think my strength's at, what, 328%? Gives 1640 shields, 102% shield recharge, plus they get the shield gate. It's okay, but at the same time, completely worthless. If they're running like a low shield gate build, you will completely screw your teammates over. Like, this can be bad. It will drain the crap out of your shields. Also, because both of these are channeled abilities, you don't get to regenerate shields passively, meaning your only way of getting shields back is Pillage. Pillage, our next ability. Pillage is amazing, but also got nerfed extremely hard on Hildryn specifically for the most part. How it got affected with the Jade Shadows update doesn't really affect other Warframes almost at all, but it really matters on Hildryn. So Pillage sends out a little wave, okay? Now, it does scale off range for where it is at base, but what it really scales off is duration. Duration will affect how far it goes out, right? How long that little radius expands. Now, every enemy that is tagged by Pillage will have their shields or armor stripped. It cannot strip both. So if they have shields, they'll prioritize that over armor. But it will strip their shields or armor, and then when it comes back to you, it will give you said shields, right? It'll convert armor to shields or convert shields to shields and give it to yourself. It can also go into over shields. Now at base it takes 25%, right? 25% drain. So to full armor strip you need 400% strength, or 328% strength and curse projection. That's pretty good. Very nice armor strip. And it also gives your shields back for shield gating to give you lots of survivability. On top of that, when you cast it, it status cleanses you, and any ally hit by the wave is also status cleansed. Now, on normal Warframes that don't have a high shield cap, that's not an issue. But on Hildryn, who has an ungodly high amount of shields, to be able to get your full shields back, to get your full shield gate back, takes a lot of shields. And with the armor health changes that happened in Jade Shadows, enemies have significantly less armor. Like, if you're facing a level 1000 enemy, that guy went from like 20,000 armor now to 2,700 as cap. Even on the low, even base steel path people, okay? Which is what most people do. Even at base steel path, enemies have way less armor than they did before because they have a cap of 2,700 now. Meaning, if you siphon 100% of an enemy's armor, and you tagged one enemy, you're going to get 2,700 shields. That's a lot less than before. Before, it'd be like you tag one enemy and you're going to get all of your shields and no for shields back almost every time. Except now, that's not the case, right? Like, let's say you don't have max strength, you don't have the full armor strip, right? Even 328 strength with corrosive projection, you're only going to be stealing 82%. Then you also have to account for the fact that your teammates might be armor stripping or taking out shields, because you can only siphon and steal what there is to steal. Meaning, if your teammates armor strip them, you can't take the shields back. You also can't use this on infested because they don't have armor shields, which makes it a big problem. Now, that means, compared to before, the amount of enemies you have to tag to get the amount of shields back compared to before, it's gone up like 5 times. You have to hit way more enemies to get your shields back. And it's not always a prevalent issue, but for me personally, as someone that plays Hildryn so much, I feel it. I really feel it. On top of that, you also have both an up and a down of Jade Shadows. Because Jade Shadows changed how armor works and now it scales linearly for the most part, and health went up, you don't have to have a full armor strip anymore. Before you did, I mean, you were pretty much forced into building 328% strength and corrosive projection or 400 strength on your Hildryn. Now, that actually wasn't that big of a deal because a lot of the time you were better off doing that anyways. But it does free up the fact that you don't have to do that anymore, right? Like, you don't have to have a full armor strip anymore. Except, the problem is, even if you don't have a full armor strip, you are almost always going to have high enough strength to strip armor completely in 2 casts of Pillage. So most of the time when you're playing Hildryn, enemies are fully armor stripped anyways. Well, now that armor went down and health went up, everything was fully armor stripped before, and it will still be fully armor stripped. Meaning now enemies just have like 3 times the HP they did. So compared to... Hildryn was already bad before Jade Shadows. Haven is a not good support ability. It's not that great. Aegis Storm is a horrendous ability that should not exist. And Pillage was already really good. It is still really good, but now honestly Pillage is better on other Warframes than it is on Hildryn, which is just sad. And now Hildryn struggles way more than she did before. Enemies take way more damage to kill because they have higher health and lower armor, and you get less shields back. It's rough. Now, her final ability, let's go back to the arsenal. I gotta switch builds so you can actually see it. Here we go, is Balefire. Her exalted weapon. Now, this has ups and downs. One of the ups is this scales with strength or range, right? The explosion radius is 3 meters. That scales with range. But it also scales multiplicatively with prime fulmination. So this 44% will go on top of whatever it is after you get it with range. So it will be like, my range is 45. So the range would go up by 1.45. It would be multiplied by. And then that number after that would be another 1.44 on that. It's multiplicative, meaning you get a pretty big explosion. It also goes through walls, and it has no damage fall off, full damage throughout the entire explosion. That's pretty much where the good parts about this weapon end. It's pretty bad, normally. Let's look at this right here. This is with 328% strength, by the way. Or no, 229%. So the base damage is actually less than half of this. It has a charge time of 2 seconds because it's a charge weapon. A fire rate of 0.833. 5% crit chance. A 1.5 multiplier. 10% status. And a base damage of 286.3, which is doubled on the charge shot. The charge shot, one charge shot takes more time than firing 2 normal shots, but a charge shot does double the damage, meaning your DPS is higher to just shoot than the charge. The charge makes no sense. It shouldn't even exist. The charge shot is bad. On top of being lower DPS, it gets worse because the charge shot costs 4 times the amount of shields. So you are having lower DPS and consuming 4 times the shields for it. That actually, it's more than 4 times. It goes from 100 to 450, so 4.5 times the shields for less DPS. That's disgusting. Why? Just why? Disgusting in a bad way. That shouldn't be a thing. So it's pretty bad. It's really only good for star chart. Not star chart like Steel Path, but like base star chart. Outside of star chart missions, I don't even use this because its damage is so pathetic. It's not even worth bothering with. Which, again, it's been heavily affected by the Jade Shadows changes because everything was already getting fully armor stripped by Hildryn anyways, but now they have like 3 times the HP when they're fully armor stripped compared to pre-Jade Shadows, so it got even worse. Hildryn just got dunked on with the Jade Shadows update. It made a bad frame worse, and that's depressing. Now, that's it for explaining Hildryn. Let's get on to the builds, right? We're going to go over the 6 builds. This is not the first time I've done this video, or this kind of video. I actually did a similar video explaining Hildryn and showing the 6 builds I had at the time a few months ago when I first started doing Warframe. I think it was like my 5th video ever, maybe even 4th video, or at least like Warframe video once I started making videos. So this, I guess it's kind of like an updated one. I do have Archon shards. We have 1 for casting speed. I don't think you need more. 1 is plenty. 2 for strength. This is just so it's easier to hit break points because you need 328 with corrosive projection for full strip. So with the 2 strength shards, now all we need is Blind Rage, Transient, and Umbral Intensify, and we're at exactly 328. So I highly recommend double strength shards. Very nice. And the last 2 are just parkour velocity because it makes her faster, and Hildryn's really slow at base. So this just makes her feel much better, and I love dashing around with her dodge. It sounds cool, it looks cool, it's very satisfying. And with high parkour velocity, it makes you go really, really far. Very epic. Now, you will have to sacrifice damage to do it, but if you have the mod on your secondary, Amalgam Barrel Diffusion, this makes your dodge speed better, and it makes it feel, that with the parkour velocity, makes Hildryn's dodge feel so good. Look at how fast that is, and how far it makes you go. Oh my god. It's beautiful. I love it. It feels so good to use. Amazing. Okay, now we can get on to the builds. We have 6 builds for Hildryn today. Most of them are different from the old video I did like 4 months ago, but I think like 2 of them are similar, but at least some changes should have happened. The first build is one I haven't been using super long, but one I've been testing out because I've really been enjoying Reave on Warframes in general, so I figured, hell, why not put it on Hildryn? It siphons HP and shields off of enemies. It is the helmet build you get from Revenants. Despite how much health and drain it shows, that's actually inaccurate. That is on enemies affected by Enthrall, which you can't do if you're not Revenant. The actual drain for health and shields is 8%, not 40%. You do get status cleanse when you cast it, and you get iframes during it, so it's very nice. You can only steal shields or health on enemies that have each respectively, so if you dash through an enemy without shields, you will not get shields back. It's not much of an issue though, because with this build, the main reason I have it, if I could freaking go here, is you can start your shield regen after casting Reave. So we have very high shield regeneration, fast deflection, vigilante vigor, and fortitude. And because we have fortitude, you don't need prime sure-footed. Fortitude with normal sure-footed is enough for complete knockdown resist. And now our shields have a delay of 0.3 seconds, and we get nearly 1,000 shields per second. That's really freaking good. So let's say we spawn in some enemies, simulate, to drain our shields. Look at this, it's draining. Cast Haven as well, end this. And then we like uncast this, or we dash away. And look, it's already, our shields already regenerates. Like, at the moment you cast it almost, they're already start regenerating. Very nice. It's not like anything special, it's just a interesting, comfortable build. Aegis and Barrier for extra shields, just for amazing regen. This is meant to be a very low effort, high survivability build. Corrosive Projection, plus high strength, so that we get lots of armor stripping. Our Pillage will as fully armor strip. Plus this also gives us shields back. And yeah, not really much else to it, just a very straightforward build. We're not really using our 3 and 4, so these are worthless abilities here, but it's an interesting build. Oh wait, one more thing. Also, I just said the word build like 500 times. You can kill stuff with Reave. Because it does true damage, it's health drain, it ignores armor, so you don't need armor strip. It does 8%, like I said, and it scales with strength. So with 328% strength, we are sitting at 26%, roughly. Slightly more technically, but basically 26% health drain on enemies. We don't have anything to make enemies take more damage directly, other than if we were to apply Viral. But applying Viral is not difficult. You can have a primer that does it, or, you know, prime with your companion, like you're a Nautilus or something, to suck these enemies in. I think actually that's what I will do. We'll go ahead and put on Nautilus. Nautilus is closer than Nautilus Prime. Cordon, suck stuff in. Oh yes, and Guardian is an amazing thing. I love Sentinels with Hildryn because you can use the Guardian mod to get all of your shields back on Hildryn. Incredible. So we're just going to use this with a typical viral primer setup so we can apply max viral procs, because if you are at least 8 or 9 viral procs, you should be able to one-shot these enemies with Reave. So pulls them in. Dang it, our guy's bugged out, he's not going to attack them. I guess I'll just have to manually prime with Epitaph, make sure they're at max stacks. But yeah, Nautilus with Hellstrom can easily make enemies at max viral all the time, but look. It can one-shot. Not as practical as Reave is on like Equinox, because I showed a Reave Equinox build, it's better there, but it still works here. Can do damage with it. That's it for the Reave build. So, next build. Da-da-da! Blazing Pillage. Let's go ahead and take our companion off again. Blazing Pillage is another thing that got heavily affected because armor strip is not as important. Well, enemies have more than triple the HP, meaning Blazing Pillage build is way worse than it was before. And that's kind of rough. Growing power for more strength because we're double casting at least on most enemies, so we're going to full armor strip anyways, meaning Corrosive Projection is worthless. Archon Vitality for double the heat procs. Roar over our 4 because it gives us more damage that also double dips on the DOT. Blazing Pillage so that we can get the heat. Blazing Pillage, if you don't know, makes it so enemies affected by your 3 when they're tagged by Haven, and then you cast Pillage and that tags them, are then applied with a heat proc, and also makes you get extra 50 shields for every enemy hit. Meaning with this, you can get shields back from Infested, but it's not going to be very much. It does scale strength, but 50 is not a lot of extra shields at base. Stretch, so we have a bit of range, so we can hit more enemies, because they have to be hit by Haven to get the burn effect from Blazing Pillage. Prime Redirection, you know, more shields from Burial's Hatred, extra efficiency. Prime Continuity for duration, Transient Fortitude, Umbral Intensify for strength, and Prime Sure-Footed, so we get knockdown resistance. Aegis for more survivability, and Augmented for even higher strength. Now, you could go Blind Rage, but I find Blind Rage to be a little annoying when we're spamming Pillage and you don't get as much shields back as you used to. So I prefer running this setup rather than using one with Blind Rage. So we'll go ahead and simulate these guys. We'll cast this. Actually, wait a second. Because this... Well, we'll show it with Viral first, or before, I mean. So if we cast this, cast Haven, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see it's doing almost 0 damage. Completely irrelevant. So let's reset these enemies. And then we'll add in Viral. I'm gonna just shoot these guys a bunch. 2, 3, make sure Viral doesn't run out. 4. You can see it does a little more, but it's still very pathetic damage. It used to be so much higher. Now you absolutely must have Heat Inherit going for it to actually do anything. So this is a pretty typical Heat Inherit build on the Epitaph Prime. Scorch, Primed Heated Charge. If you don't know how Heat Inherit works, I suggest looking that up. But let's go ahead and show it. Cast this. Cast this. Now we add in a bunch of heat. Cast that 4 times. Make sure that doesn't run out. Not even at max viral procs yet. It does some damage. It's still pretty pathetic though. It used to be way better than it is now. Honestly, even at base Steel Path, I don't think Blazing Pillage build is worth running anymore. Not right now. It's not nearly as strong as it was. So only run this if you really like it. Next we have the Gym Mommy build with Voracious Metastasis. Now Voracious Metastasis is a helmet ability you get from leveling up the helmet that's not from eating a Warframe. And what it does is you consume your own energy to heal yourself and grant energy to nearby allies. It costs 50 energy, and it will give yourself 500 HP and give allies 50 energy per second, or not per second, sorry, 50 energy over the course of 10 seconds. Okay, the duration affects how long it takes. So negative duration makes it so allies gain the energy faster. They still get the same amount, but they get it faster because it's energy per second. And efficiency also affects it. So high efficiency gives less energy to teammates. Low efficiency gives more energy to teammates. And on top of that, because Hildryn uses shields instead of energy, every helmet ability that you put on Hildryn multiplies the energy drain by 10 and converts it to shields. Well, the game still thinks we're draining energy, so if we drain 775 shields, it's going to give 775 energy to our allies. That's a lot of freaking energy. So this build is just meant to be Voracious Metastasis energy spam to our teammates. Look at that, 195 energy per second. That's ridiculous. To give you an idea of how much energy 195 per second would be... Oh man, that's insane. That is about the same as 60, almost 62 Energy Nexus mods. Like, imagine having Energy Nexus on 62 times. That's pretty crazy. It doesn't show the range on it. That's because it applies it to all teammates in your affinity radius. Very, very good. It doesn't really do anything for yourself, but it lets you give teammates pretty much infinite energy. Something you should keep in mind, though, is it is energy per second, meaning it will not work with teammates that have channeled abilities active. So that's unfortunate. Not really going to do anything for like an Equinox, or if Mesa's in her guns, it won't work with her. So keep that in mind when using it, like setting up a team with your friends or anything. The build for it's pretty straightforward. We have Archon Vitality here just because I don't really need anything else in this slot. Might as well get an extra bit of HP if HP drain is something in a mission. And I also don't really know what else to run with Blazing, or in this slot, so we just go Blazing Pillage. I know I said it's not good, but there's not really anything else to do. Corrosive Projection, so we have enemies have less armor. That way our teammates don't need armor strip as much. That's nice, just good helping for teammates. Sure-footed with Fortitude again for knockdown resist and the shield recharge, and then even more recharge with fast deflection and vigilante vigor. Then we have primary direction for shields, transient fortitude for negative duration, so our allies get energy faster, and strength, so they get more energy, in blind rage, so they get even more energy, in negative efficiency, so they get even more energy. That's a big whoa, isn't it? Oh wait, no, the strength does not affect how much energy they get. Never mind. But the rest of the stuff does, right? Like the negative efficiency. Then barrier and Aegis just for extra tankiness. Next, we have on my Balefire build, because even though Balefire is not very good, you can still use it for like speedrunning star chart missions. Because it goes through walls and it's multiplicative with range and fulmination, you really want to maximize your range. So we have overextended and stretch and augur reach on. Then to help get shields back, we have fast deflection, vigilante vigor. We want decent strength, so it does more damage. So we have blind rage, transient fortitude, primary direction for higher shield cap, prime sure-footed to not get knocked down, arcane aegis for survivability. Then we have arcane avenger, so that we get crit chance to fix the horrible base crit chance, because we're not going to be running crit chance mods on the weapon. So this 45 will go up to 50% because Arcane Avenger's flat crit. Combat Discipline is here because when you lose health on kill from Combat Discipline, it can proc Arcane Avenger. It gives it more consistency. Now the Balefire build is also fairly straightforward. We just want as much damage as we can get and a little bit of crit damage. So we have crit damage from Prime Target Cracker. Radiation damage is what we're building for because status does nothing because the status chance is so low. And radiation damage, it does bonus damage to murmur. I stuttered so hard there. And a lot of murmur are in missions nowadays because that's where the new activities are. You do half damage to Orkin though, so keep that in mind if you're going radiation. Prime Convulsion, Prime Heat Charge, like I said, Prime Target Cracker, Accelerated Isotope for radiation damage and fire rate, Hornet Strike for base damage, Prime Fulmination for blast radius, again, because it's multiplicative to range, Lethal Torrent for multi-shot, fire rate, Galvanized Diffusion for multi-shot. Galvanized Shot does not work on this weapon. It is a purely AoE, so not even the direct hit, because the direct hit, it's not a direct hit. Like, the whole attack is an AoE attack. So Galvanized Shot's bonus damage does absolutely nothing on the Balefire. It just doesn't work. So do not use that. I do still need to max out Hornet Strike here. But other than that, this is really how I'd leave the build. Because the weapon has such low base crit damage, even with Prime Target Cracker, you don't have that high of crit damage, and even with Accelerated Isotope and Lethal Torrent, our fire rate's still pretty doo-doo. What I usually run in tandem with this is a Sentinel, either Worm Prime, or, because it has high enough shields, you can run Nautilus Prime. You want to use Nautilus Prime with, or Worm Prime with, Calculated Redirection and Reinforced Bond for an extra 60% fire rate, which puts us over 2 over 2 on our fire rate, which is nice. And if you want to not, I would rather go priming with Hellstrom and Nautilus Prime. I'd rather have Hellstrom for the priming. But if you don't care about priming, you could go all in and just use Tenacious Bond. Where is it? Tenacious Bond right here. So you can get a 1.2 final crit multiplier, but you have to have 50% crit chance or higher on your weapon. So you would have to run like, Volklock or something. You could make it happen with Verglass if you had a Riven, but I don't have a Riven. So you would likely need Volklock or Volcax, and then you put crit chance on it. Because then, now, it would, I don't have it on the thing right now, but it would go from 3.1 to 4.3. Wait, actually, yeah, I think if I switch to my worm has Tenacious. Yeah, there we go. See, now it's at a 4.3 crit multiplier, so I like to do that. Still not very good, though. I will show you real quick just how absolute dookie it is. We're going to switch Epitaph to a pure viral build so we can show with viral as well. Simulate these enemies. Fully armor strip them. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, the helmet ability is Breach Surge because it gives a very large multiplying damage effect when you hit an enemy. Look at that. A 4.48 damage multiplier. It just helps us get even more damage. So we'll do that, cast Breach Surge, and shoot. Ah, yes. I forgot. Oh yeah, look at... Do you see that damage? This is an exalted weapon. And we're building pretty heavily into it right now as well. Yeah, and if you have overshields, enemies get absolutely badonkied. They just get launched everywhere if they have overshields, which is so freaking annoying. So let's strip these guys again, and then use my shields though, so that we don't have to deal with that. There we go. Now, we can prime with Epitaph, like so. Switch weapons. Breach Surge. That was 12 shots and they're still not dead. Yeah, it sucks ass. Well, now you know, though. Balefire's horrible. 2 builds left to go. Yeah, we'll do this one next. So this build is work in progress. I'm not quite sure if I like it. Switch off Companion again. Very straightforward build. We just have, this is my level cap build. I used to have Breach Surge over her 3. Corrosive Projection, high strength, so we can get the full armor strip. Fast deflection, Vigilante Vigor, so that we get the big juicy amounts of shield recharge. Stretch, so we have more range to affect our Condemn. That's the only thing we care about on. Primed Redirection for more shield cap. Then, you know, Blind Ray, Transient Fortitude, Umbral Intensify for the strength. And Prime Continuity to not nuke our duration, since our duration will affect how long our 3 holds enemies because we have Condemn on. Avenger, because you're usually getting a hit a lot in the level cap runs, and like I said, this is a level cap build. That's what I use it for. Extra crit rate is always nice. And Aegis, so that we get extra shields for survivability. Now, Condemn is nice because it gives you a bunch of shields when you hit enemies, but it also has a problem. Let's drain our shields real quick. Now look, you can see it gives a crap ton of shields, and it stuns enemies. But here's the problem. When I do level cap, I'm doing Void Cascade. This build is made for Void Cascade. That's what I made it for. But Condemn is annoying because after you cast Condemn, you can see you can shoot normally, but after you cast Condemn, there's like a delay. Even with casting speed, there's a really long delay before you're able to go into your operator. Like, watch. If I cast Pillage and spam my operator, look at how fast I go. Not amazing, but not terrible. About a third of a second, it would seem like. But then if I do the same thing, spam to go my operator after I use my 3. It's about the same, right? Except, here's the problem with that. This only winks out in front of me. A lot of the time, you're not even going to get your shields back because you're going to hit enemies, and once they're hit, you can't hit them again for shields. And when you're trying to do this, okay, and you don't get shields back, and you have to wait before you can go to your operator to hold this, it can get you killed. I know it sounds like it's meaningless and I'm just like schizophrenic or something, but I've used this multiple times in level cap Void Cascade runs, and holy shit, I don't know, it feels so bad. So bad. So I'm going to replace Condemn with it and make another build. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. If I don't need range, then I would just replace this with Fortitude and go normal sure-footed. But, I don't know. Just something I thought would be worth mentioning, since, you know, Condemn is something you could think of. If you don't mind that, I don't know, I feel most people will probably be fine with Condemn. I just, personally, I don't know, I feel like it's a little rough at times. Finally, we have an Elemental Ward build. This is probably the most popular way of playing Hildryn, I'd say. It doesn't take much effort, and it works decently well. So, the gist of it is you get Elemental Ward, which is the Helmet ability from Chroma. Oh yeah, and I never mentioned Condemn's the Helmet ability from Haro. Elemental Ward has different versions of different elements. The only one we care about here is Electric. So make sure you have Electric. And to affect the elements, to make sure you have the one you want, it's the first emissive color. So your first emissive color, the one on the left, needs to be blue. The Electric Elemental Ward gives you shield capacity, which is nice because she has high shields. And it also makes it so when you get hit by an enemy, it reflects the damage back at the enemy in a electric proc, okay? Or electric damage. The status chance scales with strength and starts at 25%. The shield cap increase also scales with strength. The damage multiplier scales with strength and starts at 10x. And the radius at which it can send the shock out also scales with range and starts at 10 meters. There is a problem with this, though. It can only trigger once at a time, right? So, like, if you get hit by 5 enemies at once, it's only going to shoot 1 electric chain out to an enemy. Or electric shock. And that shock does not chain between enemies. It can do some pretty massive damage. You don't want damage reduction. Like, do not put on adaptation, because the less damage you take, the less it'll reflect back at the enemy. And this is really a build that's honestly only good at decently high levels where enemies actually do high damage so they can kill themselves. But basically, you can get enemies to murder themselves with this. I say basically way too much, dude. I need to freaking expand my vocabulary. Holy fuck. So, the build, we got Corrosive Projection for a bit of armor strip, decently high strength. We want decent duration so we don't have to recast our Elemental Ward all the time, because I just get annoyed of having to recast it all the time. Stretch so that it has a farther radius at which it can hit enemies. Arcane Avenger here just because it's nice, I guess. Really, I suppose... Here, what am I missing here? Transient Fortitude? You could replace Avenger with Efficiency, and then Augur Message with Transience, and now you get high enough strength for a full armor strip and even bigger damage from the Elemental Ward. Yeah, that's probably better. 31 seconds, and that's not counting the extra duration from Molt Efficiency, so this actually ends up being closer to 40 seconds, which isn't too bad. So, high strength, decently high shields, Boreal's Hatred, extra efficiency, extra shields, Balefire Surge. Don't really know why I'm using this. There's not really a better option that I can fit in this build right now. Can I? Ooh, actually, no, I can. Cool. Okay, Fast Deflection would be better here instead. Very straightforward build. Because you need an enemy to do a lot of damage to you, it's not going to work on guys like these. So if I unpause them, I cast this. 35k? Why is it doing Toxic? Bro, what? My guy, what? I have blue on, right? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Guess we'll try switching to this. Oh, that's fun. It's broken. Yay. I wonder if it's broken in mission or just in the simulacrum. Well, that's depressing. Well, it's the last build anyways. I guess we'll go ahead and try and enter a mission and see if it's broken or not. That's a yikes. It's only using Toxin. Hopefully it actually works in mission and isn't just bugged out everywhere. I guess we'll just run like a Fissure real quick. Not Excavation, no. Damn, no good Fissures. They're all annoying. and I don't want to run like a full defense mission. You guys don't want to sit here for a full run of a defense mission. I'll just, yeah, I'm solo. Yeah, we'll just go into a exterminate on Steel Path, I guess. That should work. Now, if it's not working, we'll just immediately back out. Let's see. Okay, it does work. It's only bugged out in the simulacrum. Look, now we have 8,300 shields. It's pretty good. You can see it electrocuted the guy. Oh yeah, if they melee you, it doesn't proc. They have to shoot you for it to electrocute them. These are guys with their armor on, so if I strip them and then they attack me, it does a decent amount of damage. Not too shabby. And these are only level 100 guys, so enemies that are like stupidly high level, if they're level 1000 and they've got like even a single viral proc, they're going to kill themselves. They shoot you and they kill themselves. It's pretty funny. It's not insanely effective. There's definitely better builds in the game. Well, no, I don't know about for Hildryn herself, but it's an interesting build. And it just gets better the higher in level you go. So, honestly, I'd say this is probably my favorite build on Hildryn right now. Blazing Pillage is absolutely destroyed. Her first build is total doogie water right now. This is the only one that makes some level of sense. You get to be tanky and stuff kills themselves when they shoot you. Here, this is a chunky guy. Oh no, he's got a hard pack. I thought it was like a bombard or something. Well, you saw it. You can see it works in mission, and you see that it does damage to enemies. That's what we really care about. Once you get your overshields, you can almost get 10,000 shields with this, which is pretty funny. That's going to do it for the Hildryn video, updated builds video on Hildryn / guide, sort of, kind of, maybe. It's not really much to her. She's literally just a shield bot. All she does is pillage, 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 pillage. Her first is pretty terrible, her fourth is terrible, her third is terrible. All you do is spam pillage, and you use her for the high shield gate. Other than that, there's no reason to really play her. If you liked the video, then leave a like and subscribe. Adios.